afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking the time. We'll get started here with opening remarks from Howie, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we were supposed to start this in the morning. Sorry for the little delay. I first wanted to start off by thanking Coach Peterson. Coach for 5 years, 3 playoff appearances, the first Super Bowl championship in the history of our football team, partnering with him, seeing his leadership through good times and bad, just really appreciative of him and his contributions to our football team. Looking forward to celebrating our championship going forward with him and his family for years to come. Carson. When we drafted Carson in 2016, we dreamed of a moment where he'd play like an MVP and help us win a championship. He did both those things. Very appreciative of his contributions to us. Obviously, with the trade we made, we felt like it was in the best interest of both parties and wish him and his family the best in Indianapolis. We've also parted ways with other players. Deshaun Jackson, one of the greatest receivers in the history of our team. Alshon Jeffrey, which without him, we'd have never had a Super Bowl championship. Malik Jackson, great leader, heck of a player for us. And other veterans that we thank them for their time here in Philadelphia and wish them and their families the best. As we transition to 2021, it was really important that we started by retaining Kelsey and BG. Not only were they Pro Bowl players last year, but they're culture setters for us. And as we go forward with 19 draft picks in the next 2 years, we need great players and great people. So we started the offseason with keeping them in mind. Finally, we spent the last few months with this new coaching staff. Coach and his staff are all ball all the time. They love talking about players. They love talking about scheme. And it's been really fun. We know we have a lot of work to do. We climbed the mountain once. Our goal is to climb it again. And that started over the last month. Time's yours.
All right, we'll open it up to questions. So we'll get started with John McMullen and then Jamie Apodi.
Hey, Howie and Nick, but for Howie, I think last time we kind of talked with you, to put a bow on the Carson thing, you kind of mentioned what you went through to acquire him. Couldn't imagine being without him. Can you kind of tell us what changed in the process leading up to the trade?
A lot of honest conversations with him and his representative about where he was and the feeling that maybe it was best to kind of move on. And we told him that it would have to work out for both sides. And I think that that's what the trade is with Indy. It's a win-win trade for them, the player that they're getting, and for us, the opportunity not only to get the picks, but really to reset us going forward from a cap perspective.
Go ahead, Jamie, and then Bo.
Howie, it feels like it wasn't that long ago that this team was on the mountaintop, as you said, and won the Super Bowl. And now with Carson gone and Doug Peterson gone, it feels publicly like you are taking a lot of the blame for this falling apart. Do you think that's fair?
I don't know if fair is a consideration. I think it's the nature of the job, and I think we have a tremendous fan base that's very passionate. I'm proud about a lot of things we've done here, but I also feel like we had a terrible year. We won 4 games, and I'm certainly part of that, and I got to wear that as well. I do feel like we have the people in place to do the right things again and climb that mountain again and get to the top.
Bo and then Ruben.
I'd like to ask both you guys about Jalen Hurts, I guess. Howie, what is your evaluation of Jalen's rookie year, and do you view him as a starter? And then for Coach, you've said that you want to build the offense around the strengths of your players. So as you go about building out this scheme this offseason, are you building it with Jalen in mind?
Yeah, I think that when people start talking about Jalen, the first thing that they go to is his athleticism and his strength as a runner. And I don't know that that's necessarily fair. This is a guy who completed over 70% of his passes at Oklahoma. He's got a feel for the passing game. He's got a plus arm. And I think he's going to continue to get better and better. When you look at those 4 games, I think I watched Coach say this, and I think it was the best way to describe it. he's only got 4 starts, and there's a huge room for him to continue to improve from a player who had 4 starts. So we're excited about the ability that he has and his opportunity to grow and to kind of be with this coaching staff and their ability to get their hands on him and help him become the player that he's got the talent to become.
Yeah, as far as building the system, like when in Indianapolis, we had 3 different starting quarterbacks each year, right? So that those teams had similarities in their offenses, but minor differences just because every quarterback did something a little bit different. That's no different here, right? So we feel like good offensive football is catering to your players, particularly first and foremost your quarterback. So of course we're looking at different things that fit our offensive scheme, but then also what our quarterbacks do well. And right now our quarterback on our team, all right, we have 1 quarterback on our team, so we're thinking about Jalen and the things that he does well, what he did well at Alabama, what he did well at Oklahoma, what he did well last year when he was here, and we're thinking about through those things and how we can make him as successful as we possibly can.
Go ahead, Ruben, and then Jeff McLean.
Hey guys, hope you're well and your families are well. Question for Howie. There's been a lot said and a lot reported about Mr. Lurie's involvement in personnel. And I just wanted to ask you your comfort level with Mr. Lurie's involvement in that kind of thing. And has it changed and are you comfortable with it?
Yeah, Jeffrey has always been involved in what we do here. He's always been one to ask us questions and to really challenge us and to make sure that we're doing the right things. And I don't see how that's changed really over the past couple of years. And very comfortable with his role here and very appreciative of his role here.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then Tim McManus.
Howie, there was a report earlier this month that Jeffrey Lurie told you to prioritize Hurts' success, and as opposed to creating a true quarterback competition. Could you remark on that comment, confirm or deny it? And what is the plan for quarterback? I know obviously you're not going to give us exact details, but are you scouring the trade market, the free agent market, and is the draft a possibility number 6?
Yeah, like Coach said, and he reminds me daily, we only have 1 quarterback on our roster, so it's definitely not going to stay that way. And we've always tried to value that position and to have depth at that position. And I don't see any of that changing here as we go forward. That's nothing that we would be comfortable with. We want to have a really strong quarterback room. We feel like we have incredible coaches on the offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball who can maximize quarterback play. And so we're going to look at the free agent market. We're going to look at the trade market, and we're certainly going to look at the draft to try to strengthen that position.
Hey, and can you comment on the ESPN report?
We have not been told to do anything other than to try to strengthen the football team and make sure that we're doing the right things now and going forward.
Go ahead, Tim, and then Jimmy Kempski.
And Nick, I'm curious how much you've been able to sort of dive into the rookie quarterback class, watching the film, and what do you see? What stands out?
Yeah, that's something that we do every day here. We're working in the morning on scheme and on things that offensive installs with coaches, and in the afternoon we're evaluating players. One of my favorite things to do is evaluate players, and quarterback's no different. We that's been a position: quarterback, wide receiver, defensive back. I get to do offense and defense now. How exciting is that? That I'm able to watch the entire draft. And so, like I said, quarterback's no different. We've evaluated quarterbacks in the draft, and there's a lot of good prospects out there. And so, just really getting to work and evaluating all positions has been our goal in the afternoons here on a daily basis.
Go ahead, Jimmy, and then Zach Berman.
Hey, Howie. Most draft experts believe that this quarterback class will produce 5 first rounders, and that 4 of them will likely go top 10. Would you agree with those assessments? And then where does this top 5 group of Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Lance, Jones rank compared to other quarterback classes that you have evaluated?
Well, I don't know if the evaluation it's not complete right now. We haven't had a chance to see all those guys throw live. We haven't completed our evaluations of all of them. But when you talk about how many quarterbacks will go in the first round, I don't think there's any question about it. I think that when you look at this group as a whole, to talk about maybe 5 guys going in the top 10, it's because of the ability that these guys have. And you see over and over again, this is a quarterback-driven league, and these guys are all really good prospects, and we're going to make sure we do our due diligence on them and every other position that would be a possibility for us in the first round and with the rest of our 11 picks.
Zach and then Les Bowen.
As a follow-up on quarterbacks to both of you, for Howie, if you do have a franchise quarterback again, what would you do differently? Or I guess, what have you learned from the past 5 years? And then for Nick, if you have a franchise quarterback, what atmosphere do you need to create to maximize that player?
Well, I don't know that the last 5 years, you can take some lessons, but I don't know that you can really think of an analogy in NFL's history, really. You draft a quarterback a second, he's playing at an MVP level, and his backup comes in and wins a world championship. That's a unique situation. And so I think that I know there's been a lot of conversation here and elsewhere about the relationship with quarterbacks and what you do with them. And for us, it's always about being quarterback driven. And so if we have a quarterback, we are going to talk to them and we are going to get their perspective on things. It's as much their team as anyone's. And so we've looked at that and kind of thought about that, and that's just who we are, Zach. We are a collaborative group. We do talk to people and our players on our team and players and people in our building and get their perspective. And at the end of the day, I'm not telling you that's who makes the decision. That's the responsibility of myself and coach at the end of the day. But getting those perspective helps us make a decision and gives us the ability to have more information. So. Thought a lot about it, and obviously, and didn't think we'd be in a situation where Carson wouldn't be on this team in 2021. So, I think it makes sense for us to kind of go back and think about some of the things we did and go through that process again. And I think there'll be more time to do that too when we're not in the middle of a pandemic and not trying to do whatever we can to get this ship back straight.
As far as what it takes to with a franchise quarterback, like my experience with franchise quarterbacks is they make everybody around them better, right? They make everyone around them better, but what makes them better, right? Well, in some cases it's a really good defense. In some cases it's a really good offensive line. In some cases it's a good running game with a running back. In some cases it's a good wide receiver and tight end. So that looks a lot of different ways, and that really can be painted a lot of different ways. I guess the only thing that because that can look so many different ways, the best way to surround a quarterback and to make him the most successful is coach our tails off in the meeting room. How do we do that, and then get him the reps on the field that he needs to get that experience to continue to get better. And so what does that look like in a meeting room? That looks like us going over, looking at a play. Let's say, teaching him how to read a play fast, right? And be able to, teach him the mental part of the game of how he's going to read this play, what this play is really good against, and show him that on examples of the tape. Like, hey, this play is going to be really good against this coverage. When we get this coverage, we want to be looking over here. So it's these reps that you're going to get from it. And that's the mental part of it. And there's so many things that play into that mental part of it. I literally just talked about one play, but there's a protection. There's everything, like there's so many pieces of that. But then it's their fundamentals, right? And that's why we have good coach. Like, to me, like, that's how you really get a player to reach his potential and max out his potential by teaching him what to do, right? Teaching him what to do, which is what we just talked about, and how to do it. The how to do it now comes to your fundamentals. So you can be you can be the best version of yourself through those two things that I just said. And so it's getting your feet right. It's getting your target line set to the target that you're throwing. It's finishing with your upper body finish. And so again, it's just the mental part and the fundamentals for us, because the scheme can look different ways. The players can look different ways, but the mental part and the fundamentals, they look the same over and over and over and over again. And it's just getting them to that point.
Go ahead, Les, and then Dave Zingaro.
Hi, fellas. Howie, one more time around the bases on the departure of Carson Wentz, if you'll indulge me. You spoke of these honest conversations with Carson and his representative. What did he tell you that necessitated him leaving here? Why did he not want to stay here and help rebuild the Eagles?
One, I keep saying his representative. It's Ryan Toner. I don't know why I'm not personalizing him and our relationship, but Les, I think all those conversations are best if they're kept between the parties. We have to be able to have those honest conversations, and we had them, and I think obviously now we're all moving forward.
Go ahead, Dave, and then John Clark.
Hey, Howie. We've heard for a while now that Zach Ertz could possibly be getting traded. Is there any update to that? And what would it take for you to pull the trigger on a trade to let him go elsewhere?
Well, Zach's been a huge part of the success that we've had since we've drafted him, and he is a heck of a player. He's a heck of a person, and we value him. And so, for us to trade any player, it's got to make sense for both sides. It's got to make sense for the Philadelphia Eagles too, because none of us had the year that we wanted last year, but that doesn't define who we are. Who we are in our jobs, and we know who he is. We know who he is both on and off the field, and we value that. So, anything that we do with any of our players is going to be based on anything that helps the Philadelphia Eagles as well.
John, and then EJ.
Hey, Howie, if you were to take a quarterback in the draft next month, would you take into account the effect it could have on Jalen more so than when you drafted Jalen last year? And I know Jalen and Carson are in different positions, but Jalen was also disappointed to not come in as a starter in the NFL.
Jalen was disappointed to not come in as a starter in the NFL?
Well, he said when he spoke at some point last year that it was something that he had to go through mentally when he spoke to the media.
Okay. I think Coach has said since the day he's been here to all of us, and I'm sure to all of you, that one of his core values is competition. And the only way that you get better is by competing. And that's by surrounding your team with talent at all positions. And the best players play. This is a competitive league with talented players at every position. And you certainly have to be playing at a top level to be successful in this league. So whether it's the quarterback position or any position that we may have some players at, we need to build depth. We need to get really good players, especially at the priority positions for our football team. So, we're not really concerned about anything other than improving our team and making the right decisions for our team going forward.
EJ Smith and then Mike Kay.
Hey, Howie. With the combine being canceled and just limited information on these draft prospects, what have you seen? What have been some of the challenges this year? And how have you guys had to adapt with that?
Well, having to deal with it last year allowed us a little bit of a head start in terms of planning for this and understanding that it may look like it is now. And so we really try to get ahead of it in August by getting as many looks as we could on guys and then utilizing all our resources to really find out as much about the person as the player. And what we've kind of done is making sure we're really focusing on a group of guys that we feel good about and knowing as much as we possibly can about and going from there.
Mike Kay and then Martin Frank.
Hey, Howie and Nick. I had a question for both of you. Howie, it was apparent that your strategy towards free agency was going to probably have to change a little bit this year. What can fans expect from free agency over the next couple of days and weeks? And then, Nick, what are you looking for in veterans that you guys are bringing in free agency?
Well, in terms of the next couple of days and next couple of weeks, we're every day we're meeting about the players that are available. We're talking about the players who are available with our personnel staff, with our front office staff, with our coaching staff, and we're looking to see what the fits will be. And we're looking for guys that we think fit our scheme, that we think fit our culture, and that we think that have an opportunity to be here as we kind of build this thing back. And so, if there's an opportunity to improve our team, we're going to look at that, and we're continuing to do that. And I would say, like, if the fit's right, we'll do it. Now, we're not in the same position that we've been in years past with our cap situation, but we're hopeful that this is just a short period of time that we're like that, and we move on. And going forward, that we'll have the flexibility back to be able to do that. We are excited about the amount of draft picks we have, and not only to draft players, but also because they give you capital, to go out and be aggressive if you want it to be, and give you options.
Martin and then Rob Motti.
Yeah. Sorry about that. As far as what positions and what you need at each position, every position's obviously a little bit different of what you need, right? And so you're looking for the pieces. Like there's been great communication between Howie and his staff and the coaches and myself, and those have just been such good conversations of just painting the picture of what types of players fit the things that we're looking to do. And again, we build our schemes. Again, I can't say this enough, based off the players that we have, but it doesn't mean we're not looking for certain things. So each position's a little bit different, and you're just looking to fill roles of, like, for a running back, you're looking to fill the multiple roles that you have that you look to use in that. And a wide receiver, you're looking to fill the roles, and that can be done by committee. And so you're looking to fill the roles that maybe you don't think that you have based off of the team that you have at this particular time. And so as far as talent-wise it goes, that's the type of talent like we're looking for. Again, it's different each and every position, but again, you're just trying to fill the roles that it takes to be successful at some of the plays that are staples in your offense. As far as the character of the player, right, we're always looking for these things in a player. We're always looking for tough players. We're always looking for high football IQ players. We're always looking for players that are competitive, right? And we're always looking for players that love ball. Like, in my experience, like, those four things, like, when we find players that have those four things, like, those are the guys you can't go to a game without. Like, hey, these guys, the players that have those four things, it just feels like every player that I've been around that I'm like, I can't get on the bus or the plane without him. He has those four qualities, right? Because those guys maximize their potential. So first, obviously, talent is the main thing, right? Let's not, like, I have those four things, but you don't want me suiting up on Sunday. But talent's the first thing, and then the second thing really is the character of that player. Those four things, I like that. That is something we're looking for each guy.
Go ahead, Martin, and then Rob Motti.
Hey, kind of along those lines, Howie, this year you have 11 picks in the draft. Last year you had 10. How important is it to, like, find guys who can, like, play right away this year, as opposed to, maybe addressing those needs in free agency? Because obviously you guys are in the situation that you're in. I mean, how important will that be for you guys, especially this year in the draft?
Well, after meeting with our coaching staff and getting their evaluations of our players and some of our young players, I mean, it's clear that some of our young players are going to play right away, whether it's from last year's draft class, the year before, or players that we draft this year. And I think when we look at the situation that we're in, in this country and the pandemic, getting the right guys for us and our scheme, and who have the right character and temperament, as well as talent, like Coach just talked about, is even more important this year than ever. There will be opportunities to play, when you have a new coaching staff, and they talk all the time about competition, and the rookies will know right away that there's opportunities here. There's opportunities to play right away. But at the same time, we do feel like we have a group of veteran players on this team who are here and are going to really lead and set the charge for us, and we're excited about having them back too.
Rob, and then Paul Domowitch.
Hey, Howie. There was a report last week that detailed a confrontation that you had with Lane Johnson. This organization has been described as dysfunctional. The word toxic has been used to describe the culture. How do you personally feel when you hear that? And when you self-evaluate, how do you look at your role in that environment? And do you feel, I know 5 years ago, you looked at it and decided to make some changes. Do you feel you need to change your leadership style?
Yeah, I understand the story with Lane. Lane signed an extension since then. Our relationship is good, and we've had a team that has dealt with a lot of adversity, and a building that's dealt with a lot of adversity, and we've always rebounded. So I don't necessarily think that's really fair. Constantly trying to improve. I think that if you're not trying to improve, then you're kind of stuck in the mud. I know the people who've been here for a long period of time. The people who've left have left for better job offers, and so I know the kind of atmosphere we have in the building. I mean, last year during a pandemic where you couldn't really connect as well when you win 4 games, was it as fun as it had been in the past? No. But when I look back at our track record and some of the situations that we've been in, and how we've overcome that, I think that's only because you have a good building. And that's a lot of people, obviously. We have a lot of good people in this building, and people who care about this team, and people who bring positive energy.
We have time for a couple more, so we'll wrap it up here with Paul and then Chris Franklin.
Howie, you mentioned earlier that it has to make sense for you to trade Zach. Clearly, a year ago, his value was much higher than it is today. Do you have any regrets about not considering trading him last year? And for Nick, I know it's early and you don't know what your team's going to look like, but do you envision your offense in having a lot of 12 personnel packages?
Well, in terms of Zach, Paul, I think you talk exactly about the dilemma you have right there. This is a guy that we didn't want to trade last year because we wanted him to finish his career as an Eagle. When we looked at the history of tight ends in the league, you're talking about a 30-year-old guy. You're not talking about guys in his mid-30s. And his skill set, we felt like he had tremendous production going forward left in him. And that's what we still feel like about Zach. There's nobody who works harder. He's an incredible route runner. He's got incredible hands. He'll do anything to help the team. So, our goal was really to try to extend him. That didn't work out in August, and we hadn't really thought about trading him. We were trying to do whatever we could to try to win, and we knew he was a big part of that.
As far as the personnel goes, again, it always looks different based off of who you are and what team you have. And so I've been on teams that have been heavy 11 personnel. I've been on teams that have been, and it's always really started there in the 11 personnel, right? But then I've had teams that have had, yes, we were heavy in 11 personnel, but 12 was our good mixer. And then I've had teams that we've been on that 21 with 2 halfbacks have been a good mixer, and 21 with a fullback is a good mixer. So again, it is all about, it really is, and I hate to sound cliche here, but it is really about what your players can do. I've had success in 12, yeah. Like our teams in Indy had success with multiple tight ends on the field. So we know the sign of a good coach is using the personnel. Like, I love to have a chance to brag on my brother. Like, my brother, I think, is the best football. He doesn't coach high school football anymore. But what he did at Southwestern High School was he won a state championship running the pro system. Then he had the athletes to run a spread system, and he ran the spread system, and they won a state championship. And 3 years later, he had no athletes. Sorry to any of those Southwestern kids that are listening right now. He had no athletes. They turned to the wing tee, ran the wing tee, and went to the stinking state championship game. They didn't win the state championship game. So whatever. My point is, and again, I love saying that because I love my brother. and I love bragging on him. But my point is, that's a sign of a good coach, is the one that can take his teams and use their best personnel. With that being said, it's also important that you're not just an 11 personnel team, and that you're not just a 21 personnel team, and that you're not just a 12 personnel team, because that's easy for the defense to watch and scheme. So if 11's who we are, it's important that we're good at 12 as well, and 21, and et cetera. 13 has also been something we've done a lot in the past.
We'll wrap it up here with Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey guys, it was mentioned earlier, just for both of you guys, it was mentioned earlier about Alshon Jeffrey leaving, Deshaun Jackson leaving, and Marquise Good. We know what happened with Marquise Goodwin. How do you guys see the wide receiver position as it currently is constructed right now? And with the draft having guys like Jamar Chase and Devonta Smith, how do you guys see this draft class shaping up? And do you guys see anybody helping out this team?
Yeah, I think to see the young talent on this team, like I think Howie and his staff have done such a good job of getting young talent in here. Like I just, and what's exciting to be able to work with the guys that are currently on this roster. Like these are the guys that are currently on these rosters, like these are the guys that I fell in love with, a couple years ago in the draft or last year in the draft. Like, and then in the draft, you don't get to recruit the guys. It's like, oh shoot, the Eagles took them. I don't get a chance to work. I get a chance to work with them now. Like that's how exciting is that? So I think Howie and his staff have done such a good job again of getting the good young talent in here, and for sure there is just like we talked about with the quarterback class, there's some great wide receivers, and this is a deep wide receiver class. I mean, but what we do is we look through all our options. And we watch the tape on all our guys, and we do our homework on all the guys, and like every other position, we do whatever we need to do to make the position to improve the Eagles and make the position as good as we can possibly make the position.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thanks everybody.